Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep today into a book that's really been making waves in the personal finance world.
Okay.
It's called Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, pinching pennies or creating a budget. It's really about taking a deeper look at your relationship with money and how it connects to your values.
It's interesting how this book kind of reframes money.
Yeah.
Like it encourages you to see it as an exchange for your time and your energy, your life energy.
Right. And the book starts with a really interesting concept, which is taking a financial snapshot. And it's not just about, knowing your net worth, like how much money you have.
Yeah.
It's about understanding where your life energy is actually going.
It's like taking stock of your resources
Right.
and seeing, okay, this is what I have and this is where I might want to go.
Yeah. And the book gives this great example of calculating the true value of your assets.
Like even things like cash gifts that you've received.
Right. Yeah.
It really helps you paint a complete picture.
And it helps you set a baseline.
Okay.
So you can see how things change over time.
Okay. Now this is the part that really blew my mind.
Okay.
It's this idea of calculating your real hourly wage.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just your salary divided by the hours you work.
Right.
It's factoring in everything.
Everything.
Like commuting time, the time you spend mentally preparing for work.
Yeah.
Even the time you spend decompressing after a long day.
It's like those hidden costs of working.
That we don't often think about.
We just don't.
But when you see those numbers, it can be pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, it makes you really question, like, is this really worth it?
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into the book's challenge to the traditional 40-hour work week.
Yeah.
Robin and Dominguez really encourage us to think about, is our job truly supporting our lives? Or is it actually consuming it?
Right.
They call it the making a living versus the making a dying trap. I love that phrase.
I know it, right?
It makes you really think about, what are you actually spending your time on?
So how do we escape that trap?
Well, the book talks a lot about finding work that's meaningful,
Okay.
that aligns with your values and gives you a sense of purpose.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about, quitting your job.
Right.
It's about finding that alignment.
Finding that alignment, yeah. And maybe it is quitting your job for some people.
Okay, so let's talk about something that can be a little intimidating, investing.
Okay.
The book actually breaks it down in a way that I found surprisingly accessible.
Yeah, they make it clear that investing isn't just for the wealthy.
Right.
It's for anyone who wants to build long-term financial security.
They give this really practical advice about starting small.
Yeah.
And focusing on low-risk options initially, like index funds.
Right, and building a strong emergency fund first.
So you have that safety net.
Exactly.
And what's really important is that they emphasize the long game.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I love that analogy.
Oh.
Okay, now let's get to one of the most intriguing concepts in the book.
Okay.
The concept of enough.
Yeah.
It's like a whole new way of thinking about what we truly need.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah?
Between feeling secure
Mm.
and having more than enough.
Right, like that sweet spot.
Yeah, you don't want to be weighed down by too much stuff.
And the book gives these really compelling examples of how embracing enough
Right.
can actually free you from financial stress.
Because you're not constantly chasing that next thing.
It's like you step off the treadmill of wanting more and more.
And it's different for everyone.
Right.
Like what's enough for you
Yeah.
might be different for me.
And how do we figure out what our enough is?
Well, the book suggests really reflecting on your values
Okay.
and what truly brings you satisfaction.
And they have this really cool exercise where they ask you to imagine drawing a line
Okay.
on a piece of paper. And at one end you write security. And that represents having enough money to meet your basic needs.
Yeah.
And feel safe and stable.
Okay.
And at the other end of the line, you write excess.
Excess.
Which is having far more than you need.
Right.
Maybe even to the point where you feel burdened by your possessions.
Yeah, like you have so much stuff that you don't even know what to do with it all.
So the interesting part is finding your enough point on that line.
Yeah.
Where do you feel comfortable?
Like what level of material abundance allows you to live a fulfilling life without being consumed by always wanting more?
That's such a powerful visualization.
It really makes you think.
It does. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of this concept of enough.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore there.
And that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
We'll delve deeper into how enough relates to our spending habits, our values, and ultimately our sense of fulfillment.
It's going to be good.
So stay tuned. Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into your money or your life.
Yeah.
And that powerful concept of enough.
Yeah, enough.
In the last part, we talked about, finding that sweet spot between security and excess.
Yeah.
But how do we actually apply this to our daily lives?
Well, one of the most impactful strategies the book suggests is to track your spending. And I don't just mean like glancing at your bank statement.
Yeah.
It's about getting really detailed, like writing down everything you spend.
Okay, so like shining a spotlight on those little expenses.
Exactly, those little things that can really add up.
That we might overlook, yeah.
Yeah, and the book suggests using a notebook, a spreadsheet, or even a budgeting app.
Right? Like whatever works for you.
Yeah, the key is to be consistent.
Okay.
And really pay attention to where your money is going.
And it's not just about the numbers, right?
Right. It's about understanding the why behind your spending. Like before you buy something, ask yourself, what feeling am I trying to create with this purchase?
That's such a good point because sometimes we're buying things to fill an emotional void.
Right. Are you trying to buy happiness, security, a sense of belonging?
Exactly. And once you start to understand those motivations behind your spending, you can start to make more conscious choices.
And that's what they call conscious spending in the book.
Okay.
It's about aligning your spending with your values.
I like that. Now, the book also digs deep into our relationship with work.
Yeah.
And especially that classic 40-hour work week grind.
The 9 to 5.
They encourage us to really question, is the time and energy we're putting into our jobs really aligned with our values and our definition of enough?
Is it draining your life energy or is it actually giving you something back?
They have this brilliant analogy of a wall between our work life and our personal life. And for a lot of us, that wall is paper thin.
It's so easy to let work bleed into our personal lives.
We're bringing our work stress home and we're worrying about work when we're supposed to be relaxing.
So the book suggests building a thicker, more soundproof wall.
I love that. And that really resonated with me too.
It's about creating boundaries.
Yes.
Protecting your time and energy.
So speaking of protecting our time, the book has some really insightful advice on investing.
Okay.
And they don't just talk about stocks and bonds.
Right.
They connect it back to that idea of life energy.
Because investing is really about creating more freedom and choices in your life.
It's like setting up a system where your money works for you.
Exactly.
So you don't have to work as hard.
You can eventually reach a point where you're not trading your life energy for a paycheck.
And they talk about different investment options, like index funds.
Which are a great place to start.
In a way that's really easy to understand.
Yeah, they demystify it.
And they emphasize, starting small, having a long-term perspective.
Patience is key when it comes to investing.
They also talk about this idea of creating a freedom fund.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just about saving for retirement.
No, it's about saving for the freedom to do what you want with your time.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's like investing in your future freedom.
Exactly.
Another concept that I found really fascinating was their approach to debt.
Oh, yeah. Debt can be a real drag.
And they don't just give you like a generic debt repayment plan.
They encourage you to think about it as a drain on your life energy.
So every dollar you're paying in interest is life energy you're giving away.
It's like you're working just to pay off that debt.
They have this interesting suggestion of looking at your credit card statements and highlighting all the purchases that brought you lasting joy or fulfillment, and then circling the ones that you regret.
Oh, interesting.
Or that didn't really add any value to your life.
So you can see where your money's actually going.
It's a really powerful visualization.
Yeah, and it can be eye-opening.
One of the biggest takeaways for me from this book is that financial freedom isn't just about having a lot of money.
It's not about being rich.
Right.
It's about having enough money to live a life really loves.
And a life that's aligned with your values.
That's what it's all about.
And the book encourages us to find, joy and fulfillment outside of material possession.
Right, because happiness doesn't come from things.
Exactly.
It comes from experiences.
They talk about simplifying your life.
Yeah.
Getting rid of clutter.
Decluttering.
And focusing on those experiences.
Spending time with loved ones.
Rather than
connecting with nature.
Yeah, and pursuing your passions.
Right.
And those are the things that truly enrich our lives.
But we often forget that.
Yeah.
in the busyness of everyday life.
And I know we've covered a lot in this part.
We have.
And it might feel a little overwhelming.
But the good news is that your money or your life isn't a one-size-fits-all approach.
It's really a philosophy, a set of principles that you can adapt to your own life.
It's about finding what works for you.
Yeah, and creating a plan that supports your values.
And speaking of a plan, the book outlines 9 specific steps to achieving financial independence.
And we'll be diving into those in part 3.
Wait.
Breaking down each step and exploring how you can apply them to your own journey towards a more fulfilling and financially secure life.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into your money or your life.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
I know, right? We've talked about, viewing money as life energy, finding that enough point. But now let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, the action steps.
The 9 steps to financial independence.
All right, let's do it.
So the book lays out this really practical roadmap for actually putting all these ideas into action.
It's not just theory, it's about taking those steps.
Exactly. And it makes it feel like anyone can do this.
Right. It's empowering.
So step 1, as we touched on earlier, is taking a financial snapshot.
That's the foundation.
Right, like getting really honest with yourself about where you stand financially.
Yeah, knowing your numbers.
Calculate your net worth. Track your income and expenses.
See where your money's going.
And I know that can be a little scary for some people.
It can be, but it's not about judgment. It's about awareness.
It's about gathering information so you can make informed choices.
Like a doctor needs to diagnose before they can treat.
I like that analogy.
Okay.
Step 2 is where things start to get interesting.
All right.
Remember that real hourly wage we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
This is where we really dig deep.
Oh.
It's about asking yourself, is the trade-off worth it?
Like, are you getting enough out of your work?
To justify the life energy you're putting in.
Yeah. Is it fulfilling? Is it meaningful?
And it might lead to some tough realizations.
It might, but that's part of the process.
All right, and the book encourages you to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
About whether your current work is truly aligned with your values.
And if it's not, the book encourages you to explore other options.
Right, like finding a new job or even starting your own business.
Exactly, taking control of your time and your life energy.
So step 3 is all about redefining our relationship with work.
Shifting that mindset.
From working to make a living to working to create a life.
I love that.
And finding work that feels meaningful.
And that might take some soul searching.
Right, like figuring out what really lights you up.
What are you passionate about?
Okay, step 4, this is where things start to get really exciting.
Let's talk investing.
Harnessing the power of investing to create financial freedom.
It's not about getting rich quick.
No, it's about playing the long game.
Slow and steady wins the race.
They talk about low-cost index funds.
A great way to start.
Starting early, even if it's just a small amount.
And letting compound interest work its magic.
Step 5 is all about embracing that concept of enough.
Bring it to life.
Right, putting it into practice.
Living below your means, prioritizing experiences.
Remember that buffet analogy?
Oh, yeah. You can have anything you want, but don't overfill your plate.
It's about being mindful of our consumption.
Okay, step 6 is all about minimizing your spending.
But it's not about deprivation.
No, it's about being intentional.
Tracking your spending, differentiating between needs and wants.
Finding creative ways to save.
Cooking at home, negotiating bills, finding free entertainment.
Being resourceful.
Okay, step 7 is about valuing your time and maximizing your income.
But it's not about working more hours.
Right. It's about earning more for the time you're already spending.
Maybe negotiating a raise or starting a side hustle?
Finding that sweet spot.
Or where you're being compensated fairly.
While still having time for the things you love.
All right, step 8 is all about investing your savings.
Creating that long-term financial security.
Building that nest egg.
They talk about developing a personalized investment strategy.
That aligns with your risk tolerance and your goals.
Seeking professional advice if needed.
But also taking ownership of your investments.
And finally, step 9. This is where it all comes together.
Big picture.
Living a fulfilling life based on your values.
Using your financial freedom to create a life you love.
Pursuing your dreams, spending time with loved ones, giving back.
It's about more than just money.
It's about living a life that feels rich and meaningful.
Regardless of your net worth.
So there you have it, the 9 steps.
A roadmap to financial independence and a more fulfilling life.
It's a powerful framework.
And it's accessible to anyone.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
What one small step will you take today to start aligning your life with what truly matters.
Will you track your spending, reevaluate your work, explore a new passion?
Remember, every journey starts with a single step.
And we're excited to see where this journey takes you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep diving deep and keep creating a life that you love.